Good evening. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Caldwell Hearing Examiner for June 28, 2022. I serve in both a decision-making capacity and an advisory capacity to the Mayor and City Council. There are two types of public hearings that this commission conducts. The first is a legislative hearing, whereby we formulate recommendations on certain land use requests. My recommendations are then forwarded on to the City Council, who makes decisions on legislative matters. The second type of public hearing is quasi-judicial in nature, meaning that the requests are specific to a parcel of land. I am authorized to make decisions on requests for special use permits, variances, preliminary plat, time extensions, and planned unit developments that do not involve the subdivision of land. However, any decision I may make tonight is by no means final. Anyone that believes he or she has been aggrieved by my decision has the right to file an appeal to City Council. On quasi-judicial requests, that involve the subdivision of land, rezones, and annexation, I am authorized to only make recommendations to the City Council, who will make the decision. The hearing procedures as required by Idaho Code are as follows. Staff will first present a report on the application. The applicant or the applicant's representative will then present the summary of the request. Testimony of those in support will be taken, followed by testimony from those in a neutral position, followed by those in opposition. I will allow the applicant or applicant's representative rebuttal. After the rebuttal testimony is given, public testimony is closed, and no new oral or written testimony will be allowed unless I elect to reopen the testimony. The time limits are as follows. For testimony, the applicant receives 10 minutes. Those in favor, neutral, opposed, and rebuttal will all be allowed 5 minutes of testimony. I accept oral and written testimony from those in attendance, but only if you sign the sign-up sheet to speak. When testifying before me, you must come to the podium, state your full name and address, and acknowledge that you've been sworn in. Oh, we're not doing that. I ask everyone to treat all parties with fairness and respect. I will not tolerate any outbursts, clapping, whistling, booing, or jeers. I also ask that those in attendance please turn off your cell phones. I'm a volunteer hearings examiner and receive a small compensation for my efforts. I am charged by law to keep a clear record of the proceedings, consider factual testimony, and to stay within cities and states' rules and regulations. We, the city staff, thank you for your courtesy to us and others as we move through the process. For tonight's agenda, the first items are the consent calendar and items 1 and 2 to approve the minutes for May 10th, 2022 and May 24th, 2022, so approved. The next items on the agenda, we have 3 cancellations or moving to different dates. The first being under old business, item 1, SUP 2109, etc., Madison Estates subdivision, will be continued to July 26th at the hearing examiner meeting. So if you're here for the Madison Estates subdivision, come back on July 26th. Item 2, the action item, case number CPM 21-2, etc., will be continued to the August 23rd, 2022 hearing examiner meeting. That's the Arrowwalk Farms subdivision. Again, it has been continued to August 23rd, 2022. The third item under new business, number 1, action item, case number CPM 22-3, etc., has been continued to the September 27th, 2022 hearings examiner meeting, and otherwise known as the Bridgeport RV Park, the Bridgepoint, I'm sorry. So if you're here for those items, come back when they will be scheduled. And that brings us up to the single remaining item on the agenda, which is case number ANN 20-5/PUD 20-02. Request by Steve Arnold and the A-Team Land Consultants for a subdivision annexation preliminary plat PUD. So with that, I'd like to request the staff to make their report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Hearing Examiner. Alex Jones, Associate Planner, 621 Cleveland Boulevard. Today we have the collections and annexation and PUD. This development is approximately 30.31 acres with 67 single-family, 74 townhome, and 17 common lots, coming in at 4.65 dwelling units per acre. The developer is proposing 12% qualifying open space and is building a portion of the bike pathway as required by the city's master plan. The site is surrounded by agriculture to the north and east. To the south is the Village Apartments, which is zoned R3, and to the west is the Four Seasons subdivision, which is classified as R1. This development wants to annex to R2 medium density residential, which goes with the comp plan designation for this site, and I stand for questions.
Thank you very much, Alex. I do have some questions on this proposal. First of all, I'd like to enter submission by the applicant, their presentation, this document, and I'll label that Exhibit ANN 20-05-1. And we'll see that as a video presentation. In the staff report, the requirements under the zoning code 100307 planned unit developments, that the criteria must be met for this to qualify as a planned unit development. And under Article 2, subsection A, there are 5 potential conditions that would establish this as a valid request for a planned unit development. The items, it's clear to me that there is one item here. I'll go through them, but I'll ask you, and we'll probably have the applicant respond to the same questions. The 5 potential criteria. Number 1, development offers a maximum choice of living environments by allowing a variety of housing and building types. And staff has stated the developer is proposing 67 family and 74 townhouse lots, single family that is, and the gross density of development is 4.6 units per acre, which is under the max 12 units per acre. Now the question is, the ordinance requires a variety of housing and building types. So I'm seeing in this submittal from this evening, in Exhibit 1, there are a couple of housing types, but my question for you, Ms. Jones, is that standard been met as far as a maximum choice of living environments by allowing a variety of housing and building types? What's your view on that?
Staff believes that it is met, but can also be met better with different articulations of these buildings. I was talking with the applicant, or staff was talking with the applicant, and there is the townhomes. There are these smaller single-family lots, which were patio cottage homes, is what it was described as. The applicant can go in more detail on that. And then to the northeastern portion of the parcel was the larger single-family lots. I know in the presentation that there were a couple different styles, but I think the applicant can go in more detail on that.
Okay, that's a definite maybe. I would like a little more information. I'm seeing 3 types, duplex, triplex, and a single family. And so that's not exactly a very broad spectrum, but we'll examine that some more. Item 2, according to your note, it does not meet the integrated within development services provided primary use anyway, meaning it doesn't have commercial uses proposed. Item 3, development provides a layout which preserves and properly utilizes natural topography and geologic features, trees, scenic vistas, or others. The staff note discusses the canals, having to deal with that, and it's a rather odd-shaped lot. So I would allow item 3 as one of the two. Good with that. Item 4, where a land parcel is constrained or otherwise limited by some obstacle, feature, geometric condition, or easement that interferes with applied standard development processes. And the staff note is the land parcel is hindered by the Caldwell Lowline Canal and Fenton Lateral. The shape of the property makes the east portion of the parcel difficult to build on. That's a definite maybe. I would like to hear from you. You think that number 4 qualifies? Close? Maybe, maybe not.
For that one, staff would say that number 4 isn't as strong of a contender as for the PUD requirement. Number 3 would make more sense as they are also required to have the bike pathway, which is required from the bike master plan along the Lowline Canal.
Okay. And then item 5 is a no. It's not considered infill development. I'll move on from there. We would like to hear the comments from the applicant on that. On page 5 of the staff report, under item 2B, about on-street parking may be permitted, et cetera, then there's a requirement for 1 space per every 8 units shall be dedicated for off-street visitor parking. I note in their exhibit that parking occurs at the very southwest corner of the proposal to serve quite a number of multifamily units. First of all, what is the count of the parking? The 1 space for 8 units, and does that meet the standard?
So for that parking, it was based more on the LB, which was the lots 45 foot in width and smaller shall provide 1 additional space per every 4 residential units in a common parking lot. And last time I counted, they had 27 additional parking spots, which meets the standard.
Okay. What's the threshold number? 25-ish?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. The other question I have on that is the location. I know it's a difficult part of the property. You have the lateral going through there makes it, the corner really inaccessible. But this is also a gateway. This is the entryway, essentially, to the subdivision. And driving down the street, you're going to see parking lots. That's, I hope we could get a better solution for that. We'll have a discussion with the applicant, but I think that everybody in the development will have to walk to the southwest corner, or to and from to visit here. And I wonder if there are other areas that could be utilized, at least for maybe half of this parking, which we'll again discuss with the applicant. I did have a question on the phasing plan, but looking at this new information, the phasing, there are 3 phases indicated, so that's good. We'll stick with that phasing plan. Page 6 of the staff report, the whole section about required amenities is lacking in detail, other than the fact that the applicant has provided proposed 12% of qualifying open space, which more than meets the 10% threshold. But items under A, items 1, 2, 4, and 4B, I see no details there. For PUD, I'd like to have what exactly the amenities are as part of the proposal. Now, I do see in this information received tonight, there's more details on that, but I would like that enumerated in the staff report so we can specifically refer to that as part of the approval process. And I'll allow the applicant to address that issue. This is just a typo kind of thing. Page 15, item 9, talking about the irrigation from the engineering report. The item 9 should have 9A and 9B instead of 2 and 3, just to clarify that. And have we heard from the school district on this proposal?
We have not.
Okay, and I'm assuming this is the Caldwell School District?
This is the Valley View School District.
Okay. Yeah, the last half a dozen or so applications of this nature have had a plea from Valley View to give them some relief. I won't pretend to speak for them, but the recent history is that they're maxed out. The bond failed, running out of room to educate the children. That's a problem that has to be addressed community-wide. But I just, am always glad to hear from the school districts and what their specific concerns are. We didn't, so we'll move on. Another issue here, bottom of page 16 of the staff report, goals and policies on housing. The goal 2 about housing standards and improve the visual appearance. There was nothing in the staff report I reviewed to show how this might be innovative, but I do observe in the Exhibit 1 submitted tonight that there are a couple of examples of housing types. Would like a little more concrete statement on that, which I'll ask the applicant. And with that, I would like to have the applicant make a presentation, please.
Mr. Hearing Examiner, for the record, my name is Steve Arnold. I'm with A-Team Land Consultants. My address is 1785 Whisper Cove, Boise, 83709.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
So I'm here tonight presenting, and we did send in this PowerPoint, and hopefully that'll help address some of the questions that have arisen. Part of the diversity that we're doing, and this is kind of seen in this slide here, the light brown lots, those are the townhome lots, and then the pink, those are going to be like a cottage unit. We've not designed the single family. We needed to design the townhomes so that we can make sure that they fit on the lots as proposed. And then the final phase, which is phase 3, are going to be larger estate lots that'll vary in design. The towns are about 16 to 1,800 square feet. We assume the cottage lots will be in that roughly 1,600 square feet. And then the light brown lots up there, they are anywhere between 11 to 14,000 square feet. So they're going to be the type of home that you can put, a 3-car garage with potentially an RV bay. So we're trying to give 3 different distinct housing types on this site. Another thing that we've done, and I don't know that it was mentioned, but we did put the standard buffer along, Laster. The buffer along Florida, we went with a wider buffer of 20 feet. We just feel that the Florida, corridor is gonna have quite a bit more, traffic than Laster, especially in the short term. All roads are planned to be public, and we're met with fire department, and they meet their standards. The sewer, we're planning to extend, the Dixon, I believe it's a Dixon drain sewer line, down to this site to serve the development. The one thing that this development does have a challenge with is that it falls to the east. So there is some, there will probably be some challenge, depending upon how deep the sewer is, to get the rear phase to develop. It was also a challenge just, laying that out with the drain that's along the east part in that triangular area, and just the narrowness of that piece. The architecture, let me switch to that. We have this, the modern design that we've put some balconies and some, outdoor living places. Again, those are gonna be in that 1,700 square foot range. And then we've got the triplex unit that will also have similar architectural standards. We're open to adding additional, architectural layouts in the townhomes, and we're open to, narrowing down a specific, type of architectural layout for the cottage lots and the estate lots. Each of these buildings are platted, so each of the units on the towns sit on their own lot. I know a lot of, we've done these in other jurisdictions, and there's concern that they're multifamily. These are single family to be platted and sold individually. We'll have CC&Rs that govern the maintenance and operation of all the common areas and the maintenance of the, homes as well, or that dictate what needs to be done. The developer is also the, builder. He's building the, fourplexes to the south. And again, we're trying to get 3 distinct, housing types to offer the variety of housing for the public. I did a little bit of research today, and it's kind of scary, but our median home price is $534, for a single family home in Canyon County. And we're hoping to provide a townhome that is more affordable, not low income housing, but just another housing type, so that we can meet a huge demand that's going on right now in Canyon County. I know the school district was bought up tonight. I'm doing another project in Cuna, where the Cuna School District is having the same issue that Valley View is having. And I got to sit down with one of the principals of the Swan Falls High School down there. He gave me an education on the financing that they do, the levies, the bonds, and how they collect taxes from, get tax money from the state. And it is a mess. I mean, there needs to be something legislatively done, because they're having a hard time getting additional financing, as every school district except Boise. For some reason, I guess Boise School District was created about the time we were created a state, and they've got some methods of getting the financing that most of the districts in the state of Idaho don't have. So we've got a $1.3 billion surplus. It seems like, and the reason I bring this up is because CUNA was wanting to try to charge an impact fee but then they can't charge an impact fee because of the way legislation is written. So, we're working with them to try to help, get the BCA to help, move legislation in a way that kind of frees up money. So those are the two housing types. Like I said, if there's a third one, we'd be happy to entertain that. Do additional types for the cottage lots and something different in the estate lots. But by nature of the type of lots that they're gonna be a different type of housing type.
Mr. Arnold, could we have a discussion on that while you're at that
Sure.
point? So you've shown three different housing types here. Are they all going to be of that, one of those types, other than the single-family detached? That, I expect those to be different.
But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, the question is that you're trying to go for, uniform look, or you're trying to break that up to get different looks out of the same style?
We're going to try to break that out to get different looks for the same style. And
Okay.
if that's a concern, I'd certainly entertain a condition of approval for that.
But essentially taking the same floor plan, but using colors and different means to differentiate one house from another. Is that the
Correct.
idea? Or are you looking for additional housing types?
For the townhomes, we'd like to keep that modern look and vary, the building, on the outside of the building, via colors, textures, different, undulate the buildings a bit, and I think we've done that. But, yeah, for the towns, we'd like to keep a more modern look.
Right.
And then for the cottages, we've done a cottage that is a modern look. We've also done a craftsman style cottage that is, it's not in your packet here, but we mainly wanted to show what we were doing for the towns, but, and then the estate lots, those will be, completely different.
So just clarification, the map you have, PUD, map 2 on the screen right now, that's referring to as the cottage site?
The PUD map 2, that is the
Single-family attached.
Estate lots.
Okay.
If you look just east of the townhomes, those are what I'm calling the
Okay.
cottage homes. And they'll be single-family detached and not attached. And then the townhomes will be attached towns and attached tries.
Okay, so we do have at least 4 different types then.
Correct.
Okay, that's more clear to me now. I would like to compliment the architect, or architects, as the case may be. I like the modern design, and I think that's progress. And I do like the look of that.
This one, the 3-bed town,
Yeah,
they're sharp. We built them and they're pretty popular.
yeah, it looks very functional, and a lot of different spaces in it. Simple but
Mhm.
functional, and so that I like that it's not, want of better terms, not a lot of gewgaws and doodads on it. It's just a straightforward, clean design. So I do appreciate that. So that brings us back around the question I had about the housing varieties. I think it does meet that wider variety of housing to check that box on the PUD requirement. And so go ahead. I'll not interrupt you until you're finished with your prepared remarks.
Yeah, I think I'm, well, this was an interesting slide to me, and I didn't realize how much home prices went up over the last year. My wife, she markets subdivisions that we design and build, and the pricing is just through the roof. I mean, it's crazy. It's becoming to where, local people might my eldest daughter, she got into a home, but my younger two kids, I mean, it's, I don't know what's gonna happen there, but we want to help that inventory, help bring in some housing variety types that can become, not low income, but more affordable. And I think the townhomes definitely will offer that as an option.
Well, I
That
have
pretty,
to ask, are you marketing below that 534,000 mark?
it-
That's not your goal, is it? I mean,
yeah, it's hard to call at today's rate, and as pricing's starting to correct. Lumber's coming down. The builders were pricing homes, a production home, $50,000 high. What we're starting to see now is that they're dropping them by 30 and 40 grand to be, a little bit more affordable and smarter. The profit margins that a lot of builders were making, just, it got out of hand, and I think, as we see some corrections, that's gonna help. So, but I think in conclusion, I don't have additional information. We have read through the entire staff report. We've agreed with all the conditions. Um, the open space, I didn't get to touch on your open space amenities. We've got gazebos, plazas, uh, sitting areas along linear pathways, um, that we're proposing as the amenities. We're certainly open to, additional, but the PUD map shows the locations of those. So we think we've got quite a bit of, amenities throughout. The number one amenity that is utilized in a subdivision are walking paths. You'll see a play structure. I've got one in my subdivision. My dog's playing it more than any kids. So I'm a big fan of walking paths, so we put quite a bit in there. Um, and the mix of housing type, I think, is exactly what the city needs. And we're providing a greatly demanded product, which are homes. And based on that, we're asking for your approval tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Let's go back to the amenities. Um, There is a list under item B, required optional amenities for more of the following amenities shall be provided. So, I don't know if you had this list in front of you, but could you enumerate the, 4 off of this list? We've got detached meandering sidewalks. Would that be one? Help me
Yes,
fill
that
that
is
out.
correct.
We've got a,
The detached, well, I don't have that list in front of me, but we've got detached walking paths. Along those, we've proposed benches, sitting areas. We've got gazebos throughout, and, oh,
um, one of these addresses the energy leads, LED standards. Is that your intent to build to the lead standards?
well, an amenity that we just heard about the other day, and this is what we will do, and I didn't propose it because I didn't know it was an option. Mr. Mapp told me, we'll do the EV, the electrical vehicle plugins in the garage.
Okay.
So I would offer that up tonight.
Okay, how many of those do you propose to install?
I think we do them in all the homes.
Oh, okay. And, so there's a couple of items there, let's see. You don't have, like a clubhouse type situation or a
No, we
swimming
weren't
pool or
proposing
anything
that
like that?
with this.
Community center, basketball courts?
My experience again with those is they're not very well utilized. The sitting areas and plazas that we've done in the past, those get utilized. A lot of the basketball courts that I've done, I never see anyone in them, which is unfortunate.
And how about a playground slash tot lot? You know, anything like that?
We weren't proposing, and again, that's more of a personal choice. I don't, when we've done them in the past, I don't see them get utilized.
Okay. So I've still got two to go here to check all the boxes. Um, you know, maybe we'll have this discussion with staff as well. But I'd like to see, you know, compliance with that part of the code. And
If there's some other items that are specific that you'd like to see, we can do that.
well, the code talks about micro pathways, major pathways, two different items. These are requirements. You met those requirements, but the optional ones are the ones I'm looking for here. You have usable open space, so you meet those, um, you know, items 1 through 4 in the code, and then there's an additional required optional amenities. And you talked about, I'll go for the electric vehicle plug-ins in the home. That's quite a boon. And the meandering sidewalk kind of things. But we need to look at at least two more of those kinds of things, a tot lot or so forth, to meet that part of the code. But we can, well, let me just ask Mr. Jones on that. Score-wise, where do you think we're at on item 4B or item B?
There we go. Mr. Hearing Examiner, staff believes we are pretty close. The EV charging in the garage is a definite plus. Gazebos do count. The seating areas, there's a good chance that those can count as well. Another argument that could be made is that the bike path could be counted as amenity. It is partially it is a requirement, but staff at this time does not see a problem with counting that as an amenity since it did take a big chunk out of their development.
Okay, so we're close. Mr. Arnold, how many gazebos are you proposing?
Let me go back up. Let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and it looks like 5, 6 total.
Okay. Okay, I think that satisfies the requirements. So back to discussion of the additional parking spots in the southwest corner there. I know that's kind of like not a very usable area for your housing, but is there a way to maybe move one of those parking spots to more of the northeast direction to service those, so everybody's not going to the same parking spot, you know, distribute it around the site a little bit more?
One of the things, I don't know that was brought up, but we do have in front of each unit, each townhome, we've got, besides the 2 parking stalls in the garage, there's an additional 2 parking stalls outside of the garage. We weren't anticipating a lot of additional parking need, but if we add parking, it would, of course, eliminate lots and potentially some green space, but that would not be our preference. Our preference would be to keep our parking as is.
So, for example, I'm looking at, landscape plan one, and, there is well, there are two parking, areas there, accessing that corner. Would it be possible to take one of those, sort of distribute it somewhere else, keep one in the corner and move the houses over? Does that get into the canal situation?
We might start getting into our canal, and the easement there. What's not shown on this map is the location of the easement and the width of it. We specifically, actually kept all the housing, a good distance from it, and I forget what the easement is. I think it's either 35 or 40 feet wide.
Okay, so you characterize, those areas, that are shown as, auxiliary parking as, unbuildable as far as the, housing units are concerned?
As far as the housing, yeah, I might be able to pick up possibly one additional lot on that parking on the south, side where the green space is. But it takes, 2 to 3 of the lots to, it takes about 3 lots to get, one of those parking, clusters.
Okay, and could you just describe that, southwest corner for me as far as the landscaping? Again, I look at that as the, the
An
entryway,
entryway.
the gateway into your project, and it looks kind of dismal, not, you could do a little bit more to dress that up.
We can beef up the landscaping if that's the direction.
Yeah, what is in the corner there? I can't really tell. There's a rectangle and a circle, or what are those things?
So the circle's a gazebo and the rectangle is the plaza. Usually we do the, plaza in a, oval form with a kidney shape. So I'm not sure why we've got a square one there.
Okay. Let me see. All right, well, thank you, Mr. Arnold. I think that concludes my questions. And we'll resume that discussion. I'd like the other member of the audience to have the opportunity to testify. And you'll have an opportunity for rebuttal. And we'll continue the discussion at that point. We have Mr. Reardon, would you care to testify, please? Okay. Well, thank you, sir. And then that is all we have here. Mr. Arnold, would you like to come up? We'll have a discussion. In a sense, you have a rebuttal statement you'd like to make?
I don't think, for the record, Steve Arnold, 18 Land Consultants. I don't think I have anything to rebut.
All right. I think that we have probably worried this thing enough. I did have this is a question, if you wouldn't mind hanging out for just a moment.
Sure.
For Mr. McDonald, previous subdivision in the area, we had a bunch of cul-de-sacs in this. Is there any reason to bridge that canal to the east and connect to whatever is across the canal there? or we're good with, are we good with the cul-de-sacs the way they are? Is there any advantage of, stubbing off to the east?
Mr. Hearing Examiner, that's a good question. As I look at the site plan, um,
Oh, Mr. McDonald, your name and address, please, I'm sorry.
Rob McDonald, 621 Cleveland Boulevard is my work address.
Thank you.
At this point, I don't know that that connection is necessary. This development does, abut Laster Lane, which, is a road that will ultimately continue all the way through, one way or another, and tie into, Lake Avenue here, and that'll be the main cross connection. We don't know what's developing over here, and so at this point, we have not required any stub outs to go across the, Wilson drain there. No, that's not the Wilson, that's the, what is that? Wilson's over here, so that is the, I can't read it from here. Anyway, we have not made that requirement. It may not be a bad idea to have one street maybe prepared to cross if a development came in on the other side that needed that secondary connection for some reason. I don't know that that would be a bad thing, and then if it was never used, then it would never be developed. But I don't see a huge urgency to require that.
Okay, I was good till you said one way or another, for Laster. There are possibilities that, you know, it's going to go, you know, around something, there either to the north or south to continue through there. I don't suppose it could step up to that, small subdivision, due east of there, right there, yeah, is that stubbable?
No, this is not. This,
Okay.
I believe, is private,
Uh-huh,
and these are private roads here. Laster's a collector, and so we would want some kind of connection that provides a collector through, all the way down. And I don't know exactly where that's gonna happen, and it may not happen for some time. But the intent is that at some point in the future, Laster will connect through. Maybe as things redevelop at some point here.
possible, looks like a long ways away from here. So this would be one opportunity to address that. You know, I don't have particular, dog in this hunt, so to speak, but I do like to see circulation occur as development occurs. And, looks like the canal is all, within the property boundaries of the subject property. Mr. Arnold, is that correct? The canal is wholly within that property?
It is correct. There's a little bit of easement that goes on the east side of the canal, but for the majority of the, easement is on our property.
Okay, and have you had this consideration brought up? Is this something that has been part of a discussion on any of this?
That's been the first discussion that we've had. There was the discussion about, providing a substreet to the parcel to the, west of us, and we did that. We modified our plat to do that. And then we put also another stub to the north, from our north boundary line into that site. So and then, just like Mr. McDonald stated, I mean, we've got Laster that's gonna be a main east-west connection.
Okay, yeah, I'm hearing that there doesn't seem to be a pressing need in Mr. McDonald about connecting through to the east.
Mr. Hearing Examiner, at this point, I don't see a pressing need. You know, a lot of it depends on what could end up happening in the future, and so we could obligate at least a little. What we could do is You know, we could require a little right-of-way stub here and let them build the cul-de-sac as it sits, but have a little section of right-of-way that could be maintained as part of the HOA with landscaping, but then in some future time, if we determine that a connection did need to be made there, it's an option. The thing that's not so great about it is you wouldn't normally want to be running traffic into this area, which is your residential estate sub part of the development. And if you had a high density development over here, you probably would not want to make that connection, because then you're pushing a lot of high density traffic through a very low density area. And so there may be situations where you wouldn't want that connection, but if the rest of this developed as a low density, then maybe you do. And if the fire department, you know, at some point wanted additional connection through there, maybe that would be a good thing. But at this point, my personal opinion is that it's probably not something that is critical for the approval of this project.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald. That answers my question. I have no further questions, Mr. Arnold. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Just going through my notes here. I think I've had my questions addressed through the testimony. And with that, I will close the hearing, close the testimony portion, and get to the analysis. So we have an annexation, a PUD with a preliminary plat, and I've reviewed the findings, the conclusions, comprehensive plan for the annexation analysis. I do agree with that. So starting on page 16 of the staff report, I did have one little change. The goals and policies at the bottom of the page. Goal 1, support adequate housing for range of income levels and residential needs. Policy 1-2, promote infill housing developments in appropriate neighborhoods. I don't think this is infill, so I would strike policy 1.2, but maintain the goal. There are probably other goal or policies under goal 1, and that should remain. We have the findings of facts for the annexation. Go through this. The Caldwell hearing examiner accepts the facts outlined in the staff report, public testimony in the evidence list. All adopted city ordinances, standards, and codes were used in evaluating the application. This is on page 17 of the staff report. Conclusions of law for the annexation. The Caldwell hearing examiner has the authority to hear this case and recommend to the Caldwell City Council that it be approved or denied. The public notice requirements were met. The hearing was legally noticed and posted, and the hearing was held and conducted under the requirements of Idaho Code and city ordinances. And Section 8, recommendation for the annexation, is as follows. Based on the findings of fact and conclusions of law, the Caldwell hearing examiner hereby recommends to the mayor and city council that case number ANN 20-05, a request for annexation of 30.31 acres with a designation of R2 medium residential zone for the purpose of a proposed planned unit development and preliminary plat for the collection subdivision, that is, consisting of 67 family lots and 74 townhome lots on parcels R32519 and R32519-010 is approved with the conditions of approval listed in Section 10. Moving to Section 10, we have conditions of annexation, and I'm going to make some changes and additions to this section, so bear with me, please. The staff has listed 9.1 conditions through 9.3. And at 9.3, I'd like to make a change to that, and shall read as follows: an annexation slash zone change, and striking the words development agreement. An annexation and zone change as prepared by the planning and zoning department shall be approved by city council in conjunction with the annexation and development. And add a sentence to that: the development agreement shall include the provisions and conditions of approval adopted with PUD-20-02. So that's 9.3. In the staff report, under conditions of approval for the PUD, there is included conditions, let's see, 15.5 through 15.15, and some of those actually belong with the annexation. So I'm going to move those part and parcel from this section to the annexation section. And I'll help you out. I have my notes here. I'll help you out with transcribing this. First of all, item listed on, I'm looking at the bottom of page 20, the item numbered 1513, 15.13, shall become item 9.4 under the annexation conditions. As the subject property shall be annexed with the R2 medium density residential zone. Item 9.5, the next one, item 15.14, 1514 shall become item 9.5 under the annexation. That item addresses the failure to comply with the conditions of development as provided herein, etc., will become the new condition 9.5 in the annexation section. And moving to page 21 of 38, the condition of preliminary plat 1515, 15.15, that says at the beginning, upon failure to comply with conditions opposed, shall become item 9.6 under annexation. And these that I've cited will be deleted from this section and moved to the annexation section. So to encapsulate, the condition of annexation will be items 9.1 through 9.6 as I have described. Moving along, comprehensive plan analysis for the planned unit development with preliminary plat. The Caldwell hearing examiner accepts the comprehensive plan components. The request is found to be consistent with the following comprehensive plan components. I shall not read, but they are found on page 18 of the staff report. I concur with those. Let's see. So on page 19 of the staff report, we have the findings of facts for the PUD and preliminary plat. The Caldwell hearing examiner accepts the facts outlined in the staff report, public testimony, and the evidence list. All adopted city ordinances, standards, and codes were used in evaluating the application. Item 12, conclusions of law. PUD and preliminary plat. The Caldwell hearing examiner has the authority to hear this case and recommend to the Caldwell City Council that it be approved or denied. The public notice requirements were met. The hearing was legally noticed and posted, and the hearing was held and conducted under the requirements of Idaho Code and city ordinances. Item 13, recommendation for the PUD and preliminary plat. Based on the findings of facts and conclusions of law, the Caldwell hearing examiner hereby recommends to the mayor and city council that case number case number PUD-20-02, request for planned unit development and preliminary plat for the collections subdivision of 67 single-family lots and 74 townhome lots on approximately 30.31 acres on parcels 32519 and R325191010 with designation of R2 medium density residential is approved with the conditions of approval listed in section 15 to be enumerated in a development agreement. Moving to section 15, I do have some additions to that. There are conditions of approval listed 15.1 through 15.15. Now, we have already addressed some of those and moved them to the annexation section. So I'll go through my notes as follows. Item 15.2, the development and design, etc. And we will add, it says, case file AN 20 PUD 2002 in parentheses exhibit A3 and dated May 28, 2022. Adding the date to that. Same thing in 15.3. The development shall comply, etc. And as listed in case file exhibit PA-1 in parentheses attached here to and adding dated June 21, 2022. Moving on. Similar addition to item 1511. The applicant shall provide the amenities for the PUD as fully listed in the project narrative A.1 and dated May 26, 2022. And I will add, and also found in exhibit ANN 20-05-1 with today's date, June 28, 2022. So we have deleted 15.12, 1512, because it's stated in the annexation section. We have moved 15.13 to annexation, 15.14 to annexation, and a new 15.12, which reads as follows. 1512, a homeowners association shall be established to provide operations and maintenance of the landscaping and amenities on the common lots. And let's see. Okay. That concludes the amendments to the conditions of approval, and I will assist staff in working that out if there are questions, which I hope there are. And with those amendments to the conditions in the staff report, I close this case and adjourn the hearing. And thank you all very much. Thank you for attending.